Right now in the UK, many towns and cities are in serious money trouble. Since 2018, 8 councils have gone bust, or will follow. Nearly 1 in 10 councils say they will likely declare bankruptcy this financial year. Half say they are likely to in the next 5. Half say they are likely to in the next 5. This means some of our towns might not survive as we know them by 2026. When a town council goes bust, it's called a Section 114 notice. This is like declaring bankruptcy. When this happens, the town has to cut services that people depend on. Libraries close, swimming pools shut down, streetlights get dimmed, rubbish collection happens less often. Local governments across England, Scotland and Wales face a £4.3 billion, $5.6 billion hole in their finances in the coming year. This money problem is so big that it could change how these towns work forever. The reasons are simple but serious. The government has given councils less money over many years. At the same time, more people need help from councils. More elderly people need care. More families need housing help. The costs keep going up, but the money coming in stays the same or gets smaller. Some councils tried to make money by buying buildings or making risky investments. Many of these investments failed. This made their money problems even worse. What makes this extra scary is how fast it's happening. From 1988 to 2018, just 2 councils went bust. Since 2018, 8 have. The pace is speeding up, not slowing down. Let's look at some towns that are already in big trouble and might not make it to 2026 in their current form. Birmingham, Merv. The giant that fell. Birmingham is not a small town. It's the second biggest city in the UK. Birmingham, the second largest city in the United Kingdom and the largest local authority in Europe, went bust last September. If Birmingham can fail, any town can fail. Birmingham's problems show how bad things can get. The city council is now selling its art galleries to raise money. It plans to close 25 libraries. Free swimming pools are long gone. Waste collection will become fortnightly. The city has even dimmed its streetlights to save money. What caused Birmingham's collapse? The biggest problem was equal pay claims. The council owed up to £760 million for not paying women workers fairly for decades. This massive debt broke the council's budget. Now Birmingham is under government control. Special commissioners run the city instead of elected councillors. The people of Birmingham have to pay higher taxes while getting worse services. A months-long garbage strike has left trash piling up in Birmingham, England's second largest city, as council and union leaders struggle to reach a settlement in a city facing deep financial woes. By 2026, Birmingham will still exist as a city, but it will be a very different place. Many of the services that made it a good place to live will be gone. The libraries, sports centres, and community programs that brought people together may no longer exist. Nottingham, when good management isn't enough. Nottingham's story is different from Birmingham's. This wasn't a case of bad financial decisions or risky investments. Patrick Butler, The Guardian's social policy editor, commented that Nottingham City Council's notice was an example of a more mundane town hall insolvency where a lack of funding, rather than financial mismanagement, causes councils to go effectively bankrupt. Nottingham City Council issued a Section 114 notice on the 29th of November, 2023. The council simply ran out of money to provide basic services. What pushed Nottingham over the edge? Several problems hit at once. More children needed special care services, which are very expensive. More families became homeless and needed temporary housing. The costs of everything went up because of inflation, but the council's income stayed the same. Nottingham, quote, "Sec bankruptcy means the city will have to cut many services that residents rely on. Community centres will close. Social programs will end. Parks and recreation facilities will get less maintenance. Road repairs will be delayed. By 2026, Nottingham will look very different. The council will focus only on services it legally must provide. Everything else, the programs that make a community feel alive and connected, will likely be gone. The people who will suffer most are those who need help the most." elderly residents who depend on community services, families who use libraries and community centers, young people who rely on youth programs and sports facilities. The question isn't whether more towns will follow Birmingham and Nottingham. The question is which ones will be next and how many will fall before 2026. Woking Morgue. When big dreams turn into nightmares, Woking is a town in Surrey, near London. For years, it seemed like a success story. The council had big plans to transform the town centre. They borrowed huge amounts of money to build shopping centres, hotels, and housing developments. They thought these investments would bring in money and make Woking a better place to live. Instead, Woking became one of the most dramatic council bankruptcies in recent UK history. Birmingham, Nottingham, and Woking effectively declared bankruptcy by issuing so-called Section 114 notices last year, and are now making deep cuts to local services. What went wrong? Woking Borough Council borrowed over £2 billion, an enormous amount, for a town of just 100,000 people. That's about £20,000 of debt for every single resident, including babies and children. The council bought hotels, shopping centres, and other commercial properties. They thought rent from these buildings would pay back the loans and fund council services. But many of these investments lost money instead of making it. One of their biggest mistakes was buying expensive properties that didn't bring in enough rent to cover the loan payments. When property values fell, Woking was left owing far more money than their buildings were worth. Independent reviews found that councils had not followed proper accounting processes, which require funds to be set aside when money is borrowed. This means Woking's financial managers didn't follow basic rules about how to handle borrowed money safely. By 2023, Woking's debt was so big that even if they sold everything they owned, they still couldn't pay it back. The council was spending more money on loan payments than on all their services combined. Now Woking is under government control. Commissioners run the town instead of elected councillors. Council tax has gone up dramatically. Woking residents are paying much more for much less. Many services have been cut or stopped completely. The town centre development projects that caused all this debt are now mostly empty or half-finished. Instead of creating a thriving downtown, Woking's ambitious plans left the town with empty buildings and massive debts. By 2026, Woking will still exist, but it will be a shell of what it once was. The council will spend most of its money paying back debt instead of providing services. Residents will pay high taxes for minimal services. The community programs, sports facilities, and local services that made Woking a good place to live will be mostly gone. Hampshire, when even rich areas can't cope. Hampshire County Council covers a large area in southern England, including cities like Southampton and Portsmouth. This isn't a poor area. Hampshire has traditionally been one of the wealthier parts of England, but even wealthy areas can't escape the funding crisis. Hampshire County Council has proposed withdrawing all spending on support for the homeless from March next year. This shows how desperate things have become when a council stops helping the most vulnerable people in society. The problem isn't that Hampshire is badly managed. The problem is that the costs of caring for people are rising much faster than the money coming in. Special education needs and disability services are particularly expensive, and more children need these services every year. Hampshire faces what many councils call the SEND crisis. SEND stands for Special Educational Needs and Disabilities. Schools are supposed to help children with special needs, but many schools can't provide the right support. So councils have to pay for special schools or one-on-one help, which can cost tens of thousands of pounds per child per year. The county council's network warned that SEND deficits risk bankrupting almost 3/4 of England's largest councils by 2027. Hampshire is one of many councils where these costs are growing out of control. Hampshire also struggles with the same problems as other councils: more elderly people who need expensive care, less money from the government, and limits on how much they can raise council tax. The council has been selling off buildings and land to raise money, but this is a short-term solution. Once you sell something, you can't sell it again. and often these buildings provided important services to residents. By 2026, Hampshire will likely have cut most services that aren't legally required. Libraries will close, community centers will shut down, road maintenance will be delayed. Support for vulnerable people will be minimal. The irony is that Hampshire's residents are relatively wealthy and pay high taxes. But even high-tax areas can't keep up with rising costs when the government provides less support each year. London borrows when housing costs destroy budgets. London isn't one council, it's made up of 32 different boroughs, each with its own council. Many of these boroughs are now facing bankruptcy because of one overwhelming problem: homelessness. London's worsening homelessness emergency represents the single biggest risk to boroughs' finances and is pushing town halls towards bankruptcy. Analysis shows that boroughs are expected to spend over £900 million in total on homelessness in 2024 to 25, an overspend of at least £330 million, or 60%, and an increase of over 40% compared to 2023 to 24. The numbers are staggering. The number of homeless Londoners requiring temporary accommodation has reached the highest level ever recorded, the chose, on 183,000, or 1 in 50 residents of the capital. London boroughs collectively spend £4 million daily on temporary accommodation. Why is homelessness bankrupting London councils? It's simple math. When someone becomes homeless, the council legally must house them. This is called temporary accommodation, but families often stay for years because there aren't enough proper homes. The cost of temporary accommodation has exploded. Landlords are ending their arrangements with councils to find tenants who pay higher rents. Hostels charge councils huge amounts for rooms. Hostels charge councils huge amounts for rooms. Hostels shuri councils huge amounts for rooms. The government gives councils some money back for housing homeless families, but it covers less than half the real cost. London Councils believes the borough's subsidy gap for 2024 to 25 went up to £140 million. This means London boroughs are spending £140 million of their own money just to house homeless families, money that should go to other services. This creates a vicious cycle. As councils cut other services, more people struggle and become homeless. As more people become homeless, councils spend more money on temporary housing and have to cut even more services. Several London boroughs are now asking the government for emergency financial support. Some may need to issue Section 114 notices, effectively declaring bankruptcy. By 2026, many London boroughs will be spending most of their budgets on housing homeless families. Everything else, parks, libraries, street cleaning, community programs, will be drastically reduced or eliminated. The cruel irony is that London is one of the richest cities in the world, but its local councils are going broke trying to house people who can't afford the high cost of living there. Bradford, the warning signs are flashing. Bradford is a major city in West Yorkshire with over 500,000 people. It should be big enough and strong enough to weather financial storms, but Bradford City Council is now considered to be in serious financial difficulties, alongside other councils like Hampshire and Windsor. Bradford faces many of the same problems we've seen elsewhere, but with some extra challenges that make survival even harder. The city has high levels of poverty and unemployment. Many residents need council services, but can't afford to pay high council taxes. One of Bradford's biggest problems is its aging population, combined with high levels of deprivation. More elderly people need expensive care services. More families need help with housing and benefits. More children need special education support. All of these services cost a lot of money. Bradford also struggles with the SEND crisis we saw in Hampshire. The city has many children with special educational needs, but schools can't provide all the help they need, so the council has to pay for expensive special schools and one-on-one support. The council has been cutting services for years, but it's getting harder to find more cuts. They've already closed libraries, reduced road maintenance, and cut community programs. Now they're looking at cutting services that directly help vulnerable people, Bradford's financial situation is made worse by its physical problems. Many of the council's buildings are old and need expensive repairs. Roads and infrastructure need updating, but there's no money for these improvements, so things keep getting worse. The city also faces the challenge of economic decline. Traditional industries like textiles have disappeared, leaving fewer good jobs. This means fewer people paying income tax and business rates that help fund local services. Bradford is trying to regenerate its city centre and attract new businesses, but these projects take years to show results. In the meantime, the financial pressures keep building. By 2026, Bradford will likely be a very different place. The council will probably focus only on services it legally must provide. Community centres will close. Youth programs will end. Support for local businesses will disappear. The people who will suffer most are those who need help the most. Bradford has many families living in poverty who depend on council services. When these services disappear, families will struggle even more. Somerset Monaghan Howard of Time Somerset County Council covers a large rural area in southwest England. It includes small towns and villages spread across beautiful countryside. But this rural setting creates special challenges that are pushing Somerset toward bankruptcy. Somerset said that unless it met its ambitious financial savings targets, it would be unable to balance its budget and would have to issue a Section 114 notice. The council has been warning about financial collapse for years, but the problems keep getting worse. Rural councils like Somerset face unique problems. They have to provide services across a large area with scattered populations. This makes everything more expensive. A single social worker might have to travel for hours to visit families. Road maintenance costs more because there are many miles of country roads. Somerset also has an aging population. Many young people leave rural areas to find jobs in cities. This leaves behind more elderly residents who need expensive care services. Rural areas often have fewer doctors and specialists, so councils have to pay more to get people the care they need. The government refused to allow Somerset to raise its council tax by 9.99%, above the normal 5% limit. This shows how councils are trapped. Need more money, but can't raise taxes high enough to solve their problems. Somerset has been selling assets to raise money, but rural councils don't have many valuable buildings to sell. They've already sold or closed many facilities over the years. The council faces the same SEND crisis as other areas, but with extra complications. Rural schools are often small and can't afford specialist teachers. So children with special needs have to travel long distances to get help, which costs more money. Somerset also struggles with housing problems. Rural areas don't have enough affordable homes for local people. Young families can't afford to live where they grew up. This creates more pressure on council housing services. Transport is another expensive challenge. Rural areas need bus services to connect villages, but these routes lose money because few people use them. The council has to choose between cutting vital transport links or spending money it doesn't have. By 2026, Somerset will likely look very different. Many village services will be gone. Bus routes will be cut. Libraries and community centres will close. Road maintenance will be delayed, making country roads more dangerous. Rural communities depend on council services more than city areas because there are fewer private alternatives. When these services disappear, entire villages can become isolated and unlivable. Cambridge, the success story. While many towns face collapse, Cambridge shows that survival is possible. Cambridge has been one of the fastest growing cities in the UK in recent years, with a steady population increase of 17.9%. This growth brings challenges, but also opportunities that help the council stay financially healthy. Cambridge's secret weapon is its economy. The city is home to the world-famous University of Cambridge, which attracts students and academics from around the world. More importantly, for the council's finances, Cambridge is also home to many high-tech companies like Aram Holdings and Smith & Nephew. These businesses and the university create good jobs that pay well. People with good jobs pay higher income taxes and can afford higher council taxes. They also spend money in local shops and restaurants, which creates more business rates for the council. Cambridge benefits from being part of the knowledge economy. While traditional manufacturing has declined across the UK, Cambridge has grown by focusing on technology, research, and education. These industries are growing and bring in money from around the world. The city's success creates its own problems. Housing is very expensive, and many workers can't afford to live there. But this also means property values are high, which brings in more council tax revenue. Cambridge City Council has been careful with money. They haven't made the risky investments that destroyed places like Woking. They've focused on steady income from reliable sources rather than gambling on big development projects. The council also benefits from having residents who can afford to pay for services. While councils in poor areas struggle as more people need help, Cambridge has many residents who are financially stable and need fewer council services. Cambridge's location helps too. It's close enough to London that businesses can easily reach the capital, but far enough away that costs are lower than in London itself. This makes it attractive to companies looking for a good place to set up offices. The university and tech companies also bring in outside money through research grants and investment. This money flows into the local economy and helps support local businesses and jobs. Cambridge invests in infrastructure that supports growth. The council works with businesses and the university to plan for the future. They build the roads, housing, and facilities needed to keep attracting successful businesses. However, Cambridge isn't immune to all the problems facing other councils. They still face pressure from rising costs for social care and special education. They still get less money from the government than they used to. But Cambridge's strong economy gives them options that other places don't have. They can raise more money from taxes because residents can afford to pay. They can attract businesses that provide jobs and pay business rates. By 2026, Cambridge will likely continue to thrive. The council will still face financial pressures, but they'll have the income to deal with them. Services might be reduced, but they won't face the wholesale cuts seen in poorer areas. Cambridge shows that councils can survive if they have a strong local economy, but it also shows the growing divide between successful places and struggling ones. As rich areas like Cambridge prosper, poor areas like Bradford and Somerset fall further behind. Reading 4. The commuter town that works. Reading is a town about 40 miles west of London, making it ideal for those who want to be near the capital without paying London prices. Reading shows that location and smart planning can help a town survive even in tough times. With predicted annual growth of 2.5% between 2024 and 2027, Reading is projected to overtake Manchester as the UK's fastest growing location. The town's position in the M4 corridor is expected to enable it to benefit from an expansion in big technology, with Reading's information and communications sector forecast to grow by an average annual rate of 3.3% between 2024 and 2027. Reading's success comes from being in the right place at the right time. The town sits on major transport links, the M4 motorway and the main railway line from London to the west. This makes it perfect for businesses that need to reach London quickly but want lower costs than being in the capital itself. The town has attracted many technology companies and financial services firms. Major companies have offices in Reading because they can easily reach London for meetings but pay much less for office space. Workers can live in Reading and commute to London, or live in London and commute to Reading. Reading also benefits from having the University of Reading, which provides skilled workers and research partnerships for local businesses. The university brings in students who spend money in the local economy and often stay to work after graduating. The council has been smart about planning. Instead of trying risky investments like Woking, Reading has focused on creating the right conditions for businesses to succeed. They've invested in transport links, business parks, and housing that attracts the workers companies need. Reading's economy is diverse, which makes it stronger. The town has technology companies, financial services, pharmaceutical companies, and retail businesses. This means if one industry struggles, others can keep the economy stable. The town also benefits from its residents' wealth. People working in technology and finance earn good salaries, which means they can afford higher council taxes and need fewer council services. This gives the council more money to work with and fewer demands on their budget. Reading hasn't avoided all the problems facing other councils. They still deal with rising costs for social care and special education. They still get less money from the government than they used to, but their strong economy gives them the resources to cope. The council has also been careful about debt. They haven't borrowed huge amounts for risky projects. They've focused on steady, reliable income rather than gambling on big developments. Reading shows that being a commuter town can be a strength, not a weakness. By making it easy for people to work in London but live in Reading, the town gets the benefits of London's economy without all the costs. The town's location on the M4 corridor, the main route from London to Wales and southwest England, means it benefits from economic growth across a large region. Companies use Reading as a base to serve customers across southern England. By 2026, Reading will likely continue to grow and prosper. The council will still face financial pressures, but they'll have the income to deal with them. New businesses will continue to arrive, creating more jobs and bringing in more tax revenue. Reading proves that with the right location, smart planning, and a focus on attracting successful businesses, councils can stay financially healthy even during difficult times. The council bankruptcy crisis isn't just happening by accident. It's the result of political choices made over many years. The government chose to cut funding to councils. They chose to cap council tax increases. They chose to make councils responsible for expensive services without giving them enough money. These choices can be changed. The government could give councils more money. They could allow councils to raise more money locally. They could reform the system so that councils aren't trapped between rising costs and falling income. Some solutions are already being discussed. The government could take over responsibility for expensive services, like special education, so councils don't have to pay for them. They could give councils more ways to raise money, like local sales taxes or business taxes. The government could also help councils share costs. Instead of each council trying to provide all services alone, groups of councils could work together to save money. But these solutions require political will and money. Politicians have to choose to fix the system instead of just hoping it somehow fixes itself. The crisis is moving fast. From 2018 to now, 8 councils have declared bankruptcy. Nearly 1 in 10 say they'll likely declare bankruptcy this financial year. Half say they're likely to in the next 5 years. This suggests that by 2026, we could see dozens more council bankruptcies. Towns and cities across Britain could lose the services that make them livable communities. But we've also seen that survival is possible. Cambridge and Reading show that councils can stay healthy if they have strong local economies. This gives us hope that solutions exist. The question is whether Britain will act fast enough to save the places that are struggling. Will the government provide emergency funding to prevent more bankruptcies? Will they reform the system to make it sustainable long-term? Or will we accept a divided Britain where some places thrive while others are abandoned? The next 2 years will decide. By 2026, we'll know whether Britain chose to save all its communities or just the successful ones. The choice is still ours to make, but time is running out.